because genetically mutated organisms were placed into our food supply. Now let me ask you, how many of you actively participated in that decision? How many of you have the opportunity to go and provide testimony or a public hearing on it at local councils? Okay, local. How many of you went to your state governments to provide that testimony when those hearings were done? Not done there either. All right, how many of you actually tuned into C-SPAN or otherwise watched our national government and our national elected officials taking testimony and making that fundamental public policy decision? Answer, not a single damn one of us. Why? Because not even our elected representatives made that decision. Who made it? Monsanto Corporation, Archer Daniels Midland Corporation. They made the public policy decision about what would be in our public food supply. And they made it behind closed doors, alleging that it was a private decision beyond the authority of we the people to make it. And folks, that is just one example among many. Oil corporations are dictating not only our foreign policy, but our energy policy. Automobile corporations are dictating our transportation policies. Health insurance corporations and pharmaceutical corporations are literally dictating healthcare policy in this country. And we in the Green Party say, ya basta, enough already. It is time for we the people to rise up in serious, credible, but non-violent rebellion and find ways to affirmatively withdraw our consent from a system where we, the people, are not capable or allowed to make the fundamental policy decisions. Now, folks, the Green Party of the United States was actually only formed as a Federal Election Commission authorized committee in 2001. I know because I was the lawyer who drafted that document. So I'll give the Libertarian Party all the kudos and respect for its growth, but let me just tell you, folks, in 1996, there were 10 organized state Green parties in this entire country. Only 5 with a ballot line. We had 40 elected office holders. In 2000, we had grown to 21 organized state Green parties, 10 with the guaranteed ballot line, 87 elected office holders across the country. In 2000, what happens? George Bush steals an election, and the Democrats, rather than fighting to secure the election that they won, instead spend the time blaming the Green Party. And in that hostile environment, the Green Party has grown to 44 organized state Green parties, 23 with a guaranteed ballot line, and we have 207 elected office holders. The Green Party is getting larger, stronger, and better organized with every election cycle, and through the course of this debate, I look forward to presenting you the evidence and the testimonial to show you why. We stand for peace. We stand for racial and social justice. We demand genuine ecological protection, and we are profoundly committed to nonviolence as a way to make systemic change in this country. Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Okay, I'm going to have both of the candidates up at their podiums. I'm sorry you have to stay standing for all of this. And I have a whole bunch of questions. First, I get to ask 2 questions. Since Mr. Bednarik started the speaking, I'm going to ask Mr. Cobb first. And since my area of expertise is the Patriot Act, I'm going to ask a simple question and ask you what you would do about the Patriot Act.
Well, the Patriot Act is a absolute flawed assault on the civil liberties of the people of the United States, and I would work and have been working tirelessly to overturn it. And I'm actually proud, not just, this is one of those questions where Michael and I already know we will fiercely agree on our opposition to the Patriot Act, but I want to take this opportunity to share with the listeners and those assembled, you know, there are over 300 different communities who have passed resolutions opposing the Patriot Act. Now, that's very powerful. A resolution is a statement of sentiment of a deliberative body. And I'm proud of that. After all, the Declaration of Independence is a resolution. But I'm proud that in Arcata, California, where there are Greens elected in Arcata City Council, Arcata, California is the first city to actually pass a binding law nullifying the Patriot Act, instructing the police department and the library and the city clerk that says any attempt by the federal government to take a sneak and peek at school records or otherwise violate the following provisions of the Patriot Act, you will not obey. Imagine it, folks, a city government exercising the ability to nullify law passed at the federal level because it is an unconstitutional infringement on our civil liberties. I'm proud of the fact that the Green Party opposed the Patriot Act from the get-go. I'm proud of the fact that we've been doing such tremendous organizing work to overturn it, and it is a threat to us all.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Mr. Bednarik, same question.
This is a very easy question, and I'm happy to agree with Mr. Cobb. The Patriot Act is the most egregiously unconstitutional piece of paper ever to leave Congress since the Alien and Sedition Act. It violates your right to privacy. Fourth Amendment guarantees that police officers must have a warrant supported by oath or affirmation to search your home. But under the Patriot Act, they can come in, search your home, and they're not required to give you a warrant until 90 days after the fact. The Patriot Act egregiously violates the Fifth and Sixth Amendments, which protect your due process of law and guarantee that you will have the right to the assistance of counsel for your defense. Under the Patriot Act, they can throw you in jail without an indictment for an indefinite amount of time with no phone call and no lawyer. That completely upturns the idea that we are innocent until proven guilty. And clearly, as President of the United States, I would eliminate the Patriot Act.
Thank you, Mr. Bednarik. Second question comes from a person who is an organizer of this event. Two problematic issues arising from NAFTA and global trade agreements are, one, U.S. job loss to overseas markets, and two, loss of U.S. sovereignty to foreign corporations. Under the Free Trade Area of Americas and related agreements such as CAFTA, these measures of corporate rule are strengthened and further threaten our jobs and U.S. sovereignty. I'm going to ask Mr. Bednarik first. What is your position on the free trade, the so-called free trade agreements?
So-called free trade agreements. NAFTA and GATT have nothing to do with free trade. NAFTA by itself is 22,000 pages of regulations that raise the cost of doing business in the United States so high that it cuts into the profit margin and encourages companies to move their manufacturing and jobs offshore. What it does, those agreements create a hostile economic environment in the United States that makes it untenable to do business here. We need to eliminate NAFTA and GATT immediately and reduce the size of the federal government to push money back into the hands of Americans. Americans will then spend that money. There will be small businesses springing up like dandelions to provide new goods and new services. And not only will our standard of living increase, but our economy will grow exponentially.
Thank you, Mr. Bednarik. I think I know what Mr. Cobb is going to say. Mr. Cobb?
Well, I think that you're probably right, Jennifer. I'm proud of the fact that I actually didn't just oppose the World Trade Organization, but me and about 50,000 of my close personal friends gathered in Seattle, Washington, in November of 1999 to protest that, where we witnessed a full-on police riot break out against nonviolent protesters. I know that many of you here in this room also witnessed that same level of police riot during the FTAA protest here. And I think it's important for us to understand what is going on. Internationally, sovereignty of the people of the United States is being stripped away. Our national sovereignty, the sovereignty of states and local communities. The Green Party is opposed to NAFTA. The Green Party is opposed to the misnamed Free Trade Area of the Americas and CAFTA, the World Trade Organization, and others. We are, in fact, internationalists, but we want to ensure that the trade rules are actually fair trade rules, where workers are respected, where environmental protection is respected, because we know that what NAFTA has done is literally created a race to the bottom for both wages and environmental protections all across the world. The wealthy elite across the world are those who benefit while we, the people, suffer. And I think it's important to understand John Kerry voted for NAFTA. John Kerry has been, and George Bush, have both been tireless promoters and defenders of corporate managed trade throughout their entire political careers. And David Cobb and the Green Party again says, no more. We, the people, are capable of creating our own society, and we are working to create a political party where ordinary Americans are rolling up their sleeves to do the job of creating our own government and our own institutions.